Let's get the ball rolling. One second. Kunin ko lang. Okay, sa bayan. Let's get the ball rolling. Okay. Yan, para solid na yan. Yun. Booyakasha. Good evening po. Kamusta po? Oppenheimer talagang nickname natin. I'm sure that's Yan! Kamusta naman kay John? Welcome back everyone dito sa paboritong pinakabalahurang podcast sa Pilipinas. Sige na nga, di na natin sabi number 1 political podcast. Baka maano yung mga kabilang channels. But, putting aside, good morning! Panggayain natin ulit si Good morning! Good morning! Tagalog bar English. Ako po ay si Richard Bitag. Yeah. 20 years in journalism. I'm also the executive producer of Meta Publications. Also, podcaster on Spotify. Para naman Dan Fernandez ang labas na itong natin. 20 years, mapapahamak talaga tayo yan, mga Alemania. Okay, tama na yan. Baka marami na magalit sa atin. Baka magalit si Sir. Hindi ko pa rin naintindihan paano naging bitag yung Bentulfo. But anyways, may competition na si Leloy Claudio. 20 years, yan si Popoy, alam niyan. Ito na talaga, pinanindigan ko na yung Elvis Presley vibes natin. 20 years, akala ko inasara ko ng mga cool pals. Yung pala, compliment pala yung Elvis Presley. Pero yung sinabi ni Jokoy na ginagaya ni mga Tulfos ang hindi California accent, but Elvis Presley. Yan, medyo napaisip tayo na konti. Baka inasar nga tayo ng cool pals after Anyamet. Okay, guys. Ang dami natin pag-usapan today. Napahamak na naman tayo. Dami naman ng galit sa atin dahil sa mga pinapost natin. Alam mo guys, ganito, I'll let you in on some secret, okay? This is how it works. Ako kasi, mahilig ako mag-polytasking. Hindi multitasking. Actually, multitasking is a myth. Multitasking presupposes that your brain actually can handle multiple complex activities simultaneously. Scientifically, that's not possible. What you do is you're sequencing. You're just shifting from one activity to the other. So multitasking is myth. But polytasking is possible. Polytasking means is, pumunta ka na sa bank. Sabi ng mga taga-bank, Sir, magbabayad ka pa ng deposit pero ang tagal-tagal. Sabi na, Sir, ginagawa ka ng 20 minutes yan. So kaysa magsayang ako ng oras ng stroll, yan, gagawa ko ng content. Alright? Back in the day, nung mas bata pa tayo, nagbabasa tayo ng libro. Habang nasa jeepney, nasa taxi, nasa biyahe. In fairness, when I'm on long travels internationally, 20 years, gano'n, nagbabasa ako ng libro. As long as I'm out of... But, as much as possible, I make sure kahit mga 10-15 minutes or even 5 minutes na extra meron ako, I'll make the most out of it. Including making some content. Diba? So, nag-iisip ako ng mga kabalawaran. Sabi ko, ito, may 10 minutes ako. Ayokong sayangin na mag-scroll lang ng kaiwanan. Magawa ako ng content. So, kanina, pagtingin ko, shucks, ang daming na naman content ang pwedeng gawin. Usually kasi half Sabbath day ko ang Friday at full Sabbath day ko ang Sunday, diba? So if mapansin niyo, halos wala akong post sa morning, even sa afternoons, minsan ng Friday. But kanina ang dami natin ginagawa. So yun, shout out by the way sa National Library of the Philippines. Maraming salamat for inviting us and other journalists and great political analysts. Shout out din kay Justice Antonio Carpio for giving the Velarde map to the National Library of the Philippines. Yan. Shout out dyan sa mga, ayan, subscribe to National Library of the Philippines channels. May TikTok din pala sila, ibang klase. Talo pa tayo. No, anyway. And then tuloy-tuloy lang. So sabi ko, gawa ako ng content, sayang oras ko dito bago ako makauwi at makasulat. Kasi when I have proper time, that's where I write. And obviously teaching and other obligations, TV, whatever. But kahit mga 5-10 minutes hindi ko sinisayang. I make sure there's something out of it, right? And that's where naghanap ako ng content. Sabi ko kanina, oh my God, ang dami palang content, di ba? At ang kagandahan ng paggawa ng content is the more content you make, the more people send you funny stuff, and the next thing you know, you can think about even more content. So tuloy, dami naman nagalit sa atin ng mga ka-DDS. Dahil, sabi nila, hindi daw tayo fair dahil pinost po natin is not 2024 but 2 years ago. Yan. Nagalit sila. Sabi nila, bakit ang pinost mo, Richard? Yung picture ng Coachella, crop top Coachella 2022 versus 2024. Ito, di ba? Sabi ko, spot the difference. Sabi ko, spot the difference. Ay, mamaya ka na. Sabi ko, spot the difference. Leni Robredo, former Vice President of the Philippines, diba? At saka current, still, you never know, still Vice President of the Philippines. And then, syempre, may mga nangasar na angat buhay versus yung iba, angat budol, angat sarap buhay, angat confidential pa. Ayan, talagang dami na magagalit sa atin, di ba? Ganun talaga, guys. Talagang content tayo. And then may nagsabi, ito yung mga henyo talaga na ka-DDS natin. Ha? Sabi ng mga henyo ka-DDS natin, bakit mo pinost? This is from 2 years ago, not the latest picture of the good Vice President. Yeah. So sabi ko, sige. Ito na lang naghanap kayo ng ano eh. Di okay. O, di yan ang tinapat natin. Yan. Si Madam. Yan. Taylor Swift concert, München, Germany, Deutschland, yan, okay, Deutschland versus, at yan ang sinasabi ko, yan ang problema. Pag-aasarin nyo si Ma'am Leni, talagang masasampa lang kayo ng resibo. So if you look at it in picture, from, my goodness, halos lahat ng Ruby 2014, Yolanda 2013, Reming 2006, Nona 2015, Lawin 2016, Nina 2017, Rally 2020, Tisoy 2019, hindi ko pa rin maintindihan ba't naging Tisoy yung Ompong 2018, Ulysses 2020, Odette 2021, Enteng 2024, Christine 2024, yan. So yung mga nagmamaganda dyan, sabi nila, hindi, nagpapakit ang gilis, nagpapakit yan kasi elections yan. Yan, natapatan ng resibo. Tsaka yung mga nagsabi na, 2 years ago, Coachella, unfair. Di sige, post natin yung, just saying guys. Pero grabe, no? Napapansin ko talaga, ibang klase talagang Pilipino. Di ba yung parati, naalala guys, yung sinabi natin. Minsan, talagang, I make my argument with the full 100% conviction and all, no? And talaga kahapon, emotional pa tayo, ganun. Tapos sabi ko, isa sa pinaka-nakakainis na bagay sa akin is yung pag yung mga trapo, ginagamit yung resilience. Kanya resilience daw natin. Bilang excuse na hindi tayo tutulungan, sabi na hindi, resilient naman tao, ganun. So talagang, I think I drove home the point, right? And I think nag-resonate din ito sa mga kaibigan natin. In fact, kahapon I read a poem by someone from New Orleans. So sabi na, I'm tired of being resilient, in short. Gusto ko yung maayos lang buhay namin. Gusto namin medyo may isang buhay. Medyo angat buhay. Diba? Pagod na kami sa resilience. Nakakapagod na yung resilience. And then I said na meron din siyang counterpart na issues sa Lebanon today, na yung mga Lebanese inis na inis nila kasi they find it too patronizing, if not essentially giving an excuse for incompetence and corruption and lack of good governance. So talagang believe na believe ako dyan. Sabi ko, I think I really drive home the point. And then bigla, speaking of content, so sabi ko, habol ko pa isa pang content, biglang nakita ko to. Ibang klase. Only in the Philippines ka makikita ng ganun, no? Sabi ko, ano tong video na to? Ano to? Yung pala, sa gitna ng bagyo, gumagawa pa ng TikTok. Ibang klase talaga, sabi ko, resilience. Tingnan mo sila kuya, pag tingnan mo yung video. Talagang, ibang klase talaga. That's resilience, no? Yun lang, resilience, content creation yan, no? Di ba? Habang, tingnan mo sila kuya sa likod. Habang sila kuya sa likod, yung, baka dadaan ako dyan, gano'n. Yung isa naman, tara, ito, si kuya, gano'n. Content, sabi ko. Ulang na lang, subscribe to my channel, di ba? Habang may electricity pa tayo. Ibang klase. Ibang klase talaga mga kameta itong natin, itong mga resilience natin. Sabi mong isip bata Garcia, ikaw, tignan mo naman. Baka may masabi ako, tapos ma-hurt na naman ang feelings, iyak na naman kayo, okay. Anyway, di ba? Angat buhay versus Sara buhay. Daming version Angat buhay versus budol buhay. Angat buhay versus angat ang confidential fund buhay. Yan, daming versions. But, medyo, hindi ko nakayanan yun, next level. Pero I'll tell you guys what. Mas hindi ko nakayanan yung nakita ko. Naalala mo, first of all, yung mga medyo isibata na totoong isibata na hindi sila nakakaintindi ng sarcasm. Ito lang masasabi ko Kahapon, medyo napapaisip ako dun sa nakita kong sabi ko, ganda ng shoes Yun na, ganda, Onitsuka Black Edition na parang Yun, ito, kahapon, diba? Finokus natin ito. Ibang klase naman ng comment, boat buying daw. Naman kayo guys. Hindi pa naman nagsimula ang election Kahit naman pwede boat. Pero sabi ko, ganda talaga ng ganda ng Onitsuka Ganda ng Onitsuka, ganda Ibang klase, sabi ko. Anyway, akala ko kahapon, ito na talagang next level na makikita natin sa mga nangyari, di ba? Kasi yung mga angat buhay versus budol buhay, pinag-usapan natin kanina, that was about contrast and contraposition. Because papunta na tayo kay Kamala and Trump, don't worry. Lahat ng sinasabi ko ay connected. Alright? Lahat ng sinasabi ko connected. Yung mga mahenyo nagsasabi, ang tagal-tagal mo getting at your point. Socratic method po tayo, guys. Socratic method. You want Aristotelian method na basahin yung mga articles ko and all of that. Yan, talagang systematic binibreakdown ko. But dito Socratic method tayo. So for 20 years, a certain family has been very dominant in Kamsur. Yan. Anyway, so sabi ko, ano ba nangyari dito? Sabi ng isa, sir, bakit 500 ang inabot? Napakagandang Onitsuka. Sabi ko, bakit sa Green Hills ka, makahanap ka ng Onitsuka na ito? Yan na naman tayo, mapapahamak na naman tayo. But anyways, 20 years, ganun talaga tayo, guys. Community service. Sabi ko, that's the contrast we're looking at. Hindi lang yung sarap buhay versus angat buhay, pero angat buhay versus, well, trapong buhay. Yan. Anyway, ayan, Tiger Onitsuka. Yan. So, ito sabi ko, for everything you'll say about this, contrast mo, tignan mo yung alternative. Always compare to the alternative, right? So, no one is saying Leni's perfect. I mean, of course, may mga partisans, mga fanatic, okay, I'm sure. But, you know me, I've been critical of some of the strategies in 2022 elections. I've been a little bit critical of some strategies after the elections na hindi na mobilize ng husto yung pink movement. So, I raised concerns about the meeting with Sara, and then nangyari yung Marcoleta, nakita yung paano na-spin ni Marcoleta yung meeting. So, that's what I'm saying, di ba? That's what I'm saying. Makinig kasi kayo sa akin. Alright, Chico. Makinig kayo sa akin. So, sabi ko, for everything you can say about the imperfections of pink movement, Leni, whatever, look at the alternatives. Sarap buhay, diba? Ang got alternatives, diba? But, just when I thought I saw enough, just, just, just when I thought, I've seen enough. Seen enough. Eto talaga makita natin. Great people. Amazing people. Wonderful people. Wonderful people. Yan, tingnan mo. Oh, talagang si Kuya. Ito na naman. Yan ang kagandahan na marami kang pinost, tas marami kang comments. Sabi ko, ano to? Ano to, winawawawi yung trahedya na ganyan. Tingnan mo, nagbibigay ng pera na ganyan lang. Tapos, hoy, hindi ko ginaya yung jacket ha. Iba yung jacket ko. Pero napansin ko, ang ganda ng jacket ni Kuya eh. Parang nainggit ako. Sabi ko, wait lang, parang two-tone yata to ah. Parang reversible ah. Yun no, meron din tayong white jacket. Pang tapat natin, bigyan ng jacket yan, di ba? Bigyan ng jacket. Tingnan mo, meron pa siyang, wag yung... Now, isipin niyo what's going on here. Alright? Siyempre, kung hindi ka nag-iisip, sabihin mo, ano mali dyan? Nagbibigay ng pera sa tao. Magpasalamat nga kayo eh. Itong mga tao na to, kailangan naman nila to. Pasalamat kayo. You don't need anything. Everything should be great. Everything is fantastic, wonderful. Ano pang reklamo natin dyan? May pera pang binigay. That means you're not thinking very well, my friend. Unang-una, wala akong sinasabi dito sa case na to. I don't know the exact facts of the case. But I'll tell you what. Very general ito. Wala tayong pinapatamaan. Wala akong sinasabi. Ito lang masasabi ko, guys. Ito lang masasabi ko. Tingnan niyo lang ang comments. Ako wala akong sinasabi. Ito, guys. First of all, kung maayos ang governance, kung maayos yung gobyerno, kung maayos ang mga institusyon, hindi kailangan na magbigay ng ayuda sa mga tao sa gitna ng ganitong problema. Sa anong matinong bansa na matinong gobyerno, nakikita mo na nagbibigay ng pera ng ganito mga tao sa ibang tao, na politiko. Last time I check, mukhang politiko tong tao na to. Alright? Sabi ko, technically, you cannot talk about vote buying and all kasi hindi pa nagsimulang election dahil napaka-henyo naman yung rules natin eh. Anything goes, basta pagdating ng election official, then maybe we'll check what's going on, but whatever. So, unang-una, sa anong matinong bansa nakita mo na kung may crisis, ganun ang nangyari? Because sa pagkaalam ko, sabi ko, di ba, dun sa last discussion natin, previous discussion natin, nung nasa Japan tayo, so, for instance, kinausap natin yung mga taga Fukushima, marami silang reklamo, maraming kakulangan ng Japanese government. Nakausap natin ng Governor Sato of Fukushima na maraming concern dun sa regulatory corruption daw, etc. Sure. But nevertheless, kahit isang tao hindi ko narinig sa buong Fukushima, sa buong Japan na sabi na, hindi, pumunta si Shinzo Abe dito or pumunta si governor ganun, tapos binibigyan kami ng ayuda. That never happens because ang katapat mo ay yung mga institusyon, yung welfare, police, etc. Pangalawa, dignidad ng tao. You know, the worst time, wag na tayo pumunta sa Biblia. Di ba? Klarong-klarong Biblia in terms of when you give assistance and all, make sure no one knows about it. Right? Make sure you know. Kaya remember all of the things that you hear, you see about Pharisees, di ba? Yung mga nag-show off, ganun, bawal na bawal. And if you just read the Bible, very clear yan. If you're really good-hearted, tutulong ka na hindi yung, lalo kung, pero for me, nakakadimin din ito sa voters na you're treating voters as if, 'di ba? Ginawang mangwawawi na ganito, 'di ba? And then pangapat, kung talagang gusto mong tumulong at ikaw ang opisyal sa isang lugar, kailangan ba ikaw talaga mag-distribute? Hindi pwede na magdi-distribute ang mga tauhan. Kaya nga meron mga barangay tanod, kaya meron mga, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a chain of command. Kailangan ba na bumaba? Na magbigay ng pera, etc. Now, again, I understand na maraming umiepal din during mga ganitong mga trahedya na magpakitang gilas. But show me a single picture na si Leni Robredo or anyone like her or any from the pink movement treats voters that way. Na parang, ay, sige, sige, di ba, you know what I'm gonna say, right? I mean, syempre political correct tayo, but you know, the way, ginaganon, that's very undignifying, guys. Para sa akin, yung isa pa nga, may golden gun pa na ganyan, nagbibigay ng pera. Like, what the heck, di ba? It's, sa anumang trato natin sa mga voters natin, ito yung isa sa pinaka nakaka-dismaya sa ating bansa. Yung mga trapo, ang trato nila sa mga voters ay fill in the blank, di ba? You can see, ang trato nila, ay, ito mga, ano lang, ano. When in fact, in a democracy, you are a public servant and your mandate to serve derives from the vote of these people. So you have to respect these people. In fact, in a bad system, people are scared of leaders. In a good system, leaders are scared of voters. And in a great system, both respect each other. Because voters know na maayos sa mga voters, voters alam nila maayos ang leaders at leaders alam nila maayos ang voters, so there's a mutual trust, there's social capital, right? So if you go to to Scandinavian democracies during their heydays, maybe no longer nowadays, maraming problema, but let's say 20, 30 years ago, there's a high level of social capital. And in Japan, I heard a lot of criticism of, electric, regulation. Yeah. But overall, ang taas yung level ng social collaboration with government. Not necessarily politicians, but with the state institutions. I'm speaking here, so there's a high level of social trust and respect between these people. All right. So in many ways, minsan, we're somewhere between worst of the worst and slightly higher than worst. Diba? Yun ang problema natin. There has to be that mutual trust and respect. That's extremely, extremely important in every democracy. People have to trust in the good intentions and competence of their leaders. The leaders have to respect the basic dignity ng mga citizens sila. I mean, this is fourth world situation. I mean, we're seeing like that, diba? So, nakakadismaya when you see things like that. Again, wala akong sinasabi about any family, etc. I will leave it to to make their but I think we just have to be brutally honest na ito yung nakakadismaya sa ating bansa, na yung trahedya ay nagiging oportunidad na mag-flex yung iba, or actually to reinforce networks of dependence. Diba? Naalala nyo binigyan ko kayo ng Kunyari, hindi naman nangyari yan. Pero sabi niya, kunyari, binibigyan ko ng 500 naalala mo naman, baka naman, yung mga ganon, di ba? At minsan, parang nakakalungkot kasi parang mas na-appreciate pa yung tao, yung direct cash, kaysa yung tulong na taos puso na way more worth than anything. Sabihin natin, itong isang leader, hindi nagbigay ng cash, pero nag-risk siya na leptospirosis or nag-risk siya ng health niya. Imagine dun sa baha, tapos kung may sugat ka, or God forbid and not to mention, pwede kang malunod or something like that. So, that's not 500 pesos, that's not 10,000 pesos, that's not 15,000 pesos. But is it as appreciated as direct cash being given? Oh, and by the way, I didn't ask a very important question. Where does the money of these people come from, right? No, I'm sure they're rich people, let's say Manny Pacquiao types, na sobrang mayaman, laki ng kita, $100 million isang boxing match lang with Mayweather, sabihin natin. I'm very confident na yung binibigay niyang pera, hindi yan kaban ng bayan. Galing talaga yan sa hirap niya, tsaka risk na he took. Now, I don't agree with, people leveraging money to get favor, because if you're really a good leader, you don't need money to get favor. I mean, go to any mature democracy, people vote for a person not because that person gave them money or anything like that directly. It's because that person stands for something or certain policies that they believe in. Diba? But anyway, but may levels, diba? Meron yung katulad ni Pacquiao na pinaghirapan niya yung pera niya at pinili niya tumulong sa tao. And then nagkataon rin gusto niya tumakbo sa politika at maging presidente. Hindi ko sinasabi na related yung dalawa, but yung ganun yung situation. And then you have a situation whereby isang pamilya, 10 taon, 20 taon, isang dekada, 2 dekada, isang, 1 century nasa power. There are actually some political dynasties that go back to 1870s and 80s. Alright? May gold. Um, and you wonder where they get the money. Kaninong pera yan nang binibigay nila? And again, I'm not gonna point out at any specific family or etc. But I think ay sana ma-appreciate ng tao yung pera na binibigay ng mga politiko minsan, pera din natin yan. Pera niyo yan. Pera niyo rin yan. Yan ang buwis. Yan ang, by the way, isa pang masasabi natin, yung mga ka-DDS natin, reklamo ng reklamo sa Imperial Manila. Did you know that actually kung tinignan mo yung datos, maraming mga probinsya ay hindi nakakapag-raise ng sapat na buwis. Well, you can understand why. Some of them have underdeveloped institutions, some of them are, sabihin natin, yung mga trapo din na in charge ng mga big companies dun sa kanilang probinsya. So, kung in case hindi nagbabayad ng, So, actually, a lot of times, guys, ang national government, meaning Imperial Manila, ay nag-fill in the gap dun sa mga under collection rates, yung tax effort, tinatawag na tax effort, or yung gaps in the budget. Including Davao, actually. Including Davao. If you look at it, there are many times historically na actually ang Metro Manila and NCR ay nagsasubsidize ng other big cities in the country. Right? So, I completely agree na pinabayaan natin ang Mindanao, but kasalanan din ng Marcos Sr., bakit nakapag-giyera siya ng tagal-tagal. But we can talk about all of these things that went wrong, marginalization, etc. Not to mention oppression of our Muslim brothers and sisters. We can talk about all of that. But the reality is also, fiscally speaking, a lot of times, actually, it's NCR which is subsidizing. All right, I'll post the datos and all of that, subsidizing, because a lot of LGUs cannot raise enough funds on their own. If you look at the studies by the DILG. So actually, many times, buwis natin yan. Literally, buwis ng mga tao, hindi lang dun sa mga lugar na yan, buwis din natin dito sa Metro Manila, NCR, mga region na yan. And I'm saying this as a Baguio boy, by the way, and I'm not saying this as an Imperial Manila boy or anything like that. I'm just saying, I hope people understand na there's a high likelihood na yung mga ibang trapos and dynasties, right, are dipping their fingers into, you know what I'm saying? So, nakakadismaya na nagkakaroon ng cycles of dependency. Worse than that, nagkakaroon ng cycles of debt of obligation, utang na loob. When in fact, yung pera na binibigay ay hindi nila pera mismo. In fact, parati ko sinasabi yan sa mga ka-loyalist, mga Ilocano dyan na, ba't parang tuwan-tuwa kay Marcos and all? As if naman pera ni Marcos yung ginamit. Pera ng kabahan ng bayan ang ginamit din sa mga infrastructure projects. Ang dapat titignan nyo, yung utang, yung mga corruption, yun ang nangyari. Dun may kasalanan talaga. Pero yung mga iba, as if pera nila yan, hindi nila pera yan. Pera ng kabahan ng bayan ang ginamit sa mga projects na yan, diba? So, these are where you really see perversities in terms of our political system or democracy. Diba? This is where things get very depressing. And I don't think voter education per se is the answer. You can do, but I think it's more about hindi rin conscientizing eh. It's more about telling people in like, hello, pera nyo rin yan, binibigay ba't kayo mautang na loob dyan? So in a way, medyo, again, illegal actually yan, but in a way, yung sinasabi nila, kunin mo yung pera pero huwag mong butuin kasi alam mo, babawiin yan ng 10 times pag nanalo yan. Parang, although you would disagree with it legally, you kind of see the point na dapat wala kang utang na loob, wala kang sense na ganyan. Especially kung alam mo saan galing yung pera na binibigay sa'yo, na hindi nila pera yan. Talagang, ano yan, alam mo na, lalo na, okay. So, these are the realities of our political situation we're facing. Diba? So, I think marami sa atin na nakikinig dito. Alam natin, in fact, yung marami rin mga ka-DDS na nagpapanggap pa rin na talagang change is coming. Change is coming. Except, hindi na realize mga Duterte ay mga dynasty din. Trapo pa more, confidential funds pa more. Alam ko, marami din na bumoto kay Digong. Ay, gusto rin nila talagang yung positive na pagbabago. Yun lang, nagkamali lang kayo ng choice ng 2016, but it's okay. Hopefully we move on. Wag nang sana pilitin. Okay. I think one fundamental problem talaga we have is, and I see this across the political spectrum. I see this across the political spectrum. Hindi lang sa ka-DDS or Kapsat or whatever. nakikita ko yan across the political spectrum, na I think people don't understand what is the art and ethics of voting. Paano ka ba dapat bumoto? Right? Ano yung dapat mga principles? Diba? What are the underlying principles when you vote for someone, especially for a national leader, right? There are levels to this. Speaking of that, speaking of that, um, yeah, kaya nga sabi ko, kung mag-federalism tayo at hindi mag-transfer ng funds ng NCR, actually mas mayaman pa tayo dito sa NCR, mas marami pa tayong pera ilagay na infrastructure at mas kawawa yung mga kapatid natin dyan sa Mindanao, Visayas, sa mga other things. But anyways, and pag nagkaroon ng federalism, lalo yung mga warlords dyan ay maging hari-harian dyan. As if it's not bad enough in any provinces. So yung mga federalism, actually marami dyan mga trapo. I remember there was this, I'm not gonna say sino, but isa sa mga dynasties nagtanong sa akin about friends, Prof, pag nagkaroon ng federalism, ano yung mga bagong opisina ang bubukas? So gusto nila magkaroon ng parliament sa loob ng probinsya nila or estado nila para meron din silang sige yung anak ko, yung kapatid ko para talagang i-dynasty nila yung buo para may 10 office na bago kukunin nilang lahat. Ganyan yung So anyway, kaya huwag tayong ututo. Di ba? Huwag kayong magpapaano sa mga... Look at the reality how things will be actualized if you put it. It's like buying a great car but giving it to horrible drivers. You're asking even for more trouble. But going back to this, I think... I'm not saying at the same level, but I think a lot of folks have no clear idea about what is the best way to approach voting. What is the art of voting? What is the framework for voting? And I noticed that that may explain why there's so many weird realignments, right? Or may mga nakikita tayo na parang okay, ganitong gusto niya sa ganitong election tapos ganitong gusto niya sa ganitong election. Parang tumutugma yan, di ba? Akala ko you're based on principles, convictions, whatever. So, okay, I know marami magalit sa akin, but as if I care, I've been pissing off people right and left. I'll take it as badge of honor. For instance, ang dami ko nakita na talagang sobrang kakamping. And then, sobrang Trump din. Like, wait, what? Diba? Parang, wait, what? Diba? I'm not sure I've seen as many as ka-DDS na kakamala. Alright? But I've seen a lot of kakamping na pro-Trump din. And I wonder, like, what's going on there? Now, don't worry. I always do my research. Great people, amazing people, wonderful people. Yeah, I hear things about like, oh, but Kamala, she's not good on this issue. Oh, Kamala is not good on that issue. Oh, but Trump said this that I like. Yung mga ganon. So, and then I realize, a lot of times people, well, actually I knew this, but it makes you even realize it more. A lot of people, their voting preferences are shaped almost by a single issue or by a single incident. Or sometimes their votes are shaped by a certain sensibility, ethereal, ineffable sensibility. And it makes you think about things, diba? No, parang what's going on here, diba? Because Leni is the complete opposite of authoritarian populism. And last time I checked, that's not me. Donald Trump doesn't only represent populism, he represents potentially authoritarian populism. If you don't want to believe me, okay, fine, don't believe me. Alright, who am I? Like, ano bang alam ko? Kausap ko lang naman yung mga pinaka-ano, but, ano bang alam natin? No, I mean, don't believe me, ask people who worked for Donald Trump for 4 years, including a former general and a former chief of staff of Donald Trump, who a while ago just came out and said in an interview na he didn't necessarily endorse Kamala, but a lot of ex-Trump people are endorsing Kamala, a lot of them openly and vigorously. But this is the most interesting one. Si General Kelly. Ito John Kelly. Alright. This is General John Kelly. This is the former White House Chief of Staff. Right? He openly says, if Trump wins, he's gonna be effectively a dictator. I mean, he actually used a stronger term. Remember, we had a very long conversation about whether Duterte is a fascist. And I explained to you that, there are different frameworks you can use. And at the very least, para sa akin, he's a proto, right? Or your. And I endorsed you that fantastic writing by Umberto Eco, a great Italian philosopher and literary figure who also happened to be in Mussolini's I don't know, fascist youth. I mean, back then, and it was the party in Italy. So a lot of people, unfortunately, got, what I'm saying? So, according to John Kelly, a former, I think, four-star general, if not three-star, or at least three-star general, he said Trump could actually fall into that category. Now, I hear a lot of people saying, oh, but, not very horrible things happened during Trump's first period. Of course, because he was really storing the most extreme policies for his next second term, when he wouldn't need to be reelected anymore. Except it didn't happen in 2020. But now, if he comes back to power, he's going to implement a lot of those things. Now, you don't want to believe Project 2025, it's okay. Is it Project 2020? Not Project 2025, right? Heritage Foundation. And by the way, I talked to all of these people, including mga think tanks na yan. So it's like, I'm not saying this out of thin air. But anyway, with all due respect, you look at a lot of these things, the very least I can say is that what Trump represents is the complete opposite of what Leni Robredo represents. In fact, I won't be surprised that some of these people at some point will be pro Riza and then pro Trump or something like that. All right. And this is where I realize a lot of people do not necessarily appreciate what is the art of what is the ethics of voting. So when you vote, there are two things that you have to keep in mind. No? One is dapat may red lines ka. May red lines ka. So you can say none of the candidates are perfect. But there's always going to be one candidate or two who's like beyond the pale. Right? Wag na natin sabihin na convicted felony or convicted. Let's just say there should be some minimum floor. I mean, dapat there's a floor. Now, anything below that, you're not even in consideration. Now, I don't care kung popular ka, I don't care whatever. So for me, Duterte was below that floor. So, nakita niyo yung isang araw, di ba, yung may nag-send na, ito daw yung mga achievements ng Digong. Sabi ko, kulang na lang, ilagay nila yung nilinis yung kalsada sa QC, kulang na lang, ilagay nila yung kinolect na garbage sa Davao kahapon, lahat na lang ibigay. Pero for me, for all of the few good things that happened during Digong, including yung Bangsamoro, for instance, referendum, etc., he crossed the line. He crossed the line. He crossed the line. Below floor na siya. And in fact, when he was running, if people actually bother to look at my social media posts and articles, 2015 pa lang, all right, I warned that this guy could come into power. But again, yung mga, idiot haters and all of that, they're selective and all. They don't look at 4,000 posts I made about them. But anyway, because I felt he's below the floor. So when you're voting, you have to have that red line. Because if you don't have that red line, magaganyan ka lang. One day you hear this thing, one day you hear this thing. And then that's very dangerous. You know why? Because we live in an era where we're getting our information from social media a lot. And the way social media works, I'm very active on social media, it's algorithmic. Meaning, it's based on echo chambers. So kung ikaw ay na-detect ng YouTube or na-detect ng Facebook na let's say pro-Kamala or pro-Trump or anti-Trump, it keeps on recommending you videos and all to reinforce that initial impression. And then it gets crazier and crazier. I mean, I've met people who said, oh, Kamala did this and that. It's like, really? Where did you get it? Like, anong source? And then pagtingin mo like, see, does this look like legit stuff? Do you know? Obviously. But by that time, it's too late na. Wala na condition na. Tapos na. It's called the rabbit hole for a reason. Wala na. It's over. Too late, most of it. So by this time, they so much hate that other candidate that they will stick to the other one no matter what. That's why it's very dangerous if you have no floor. That's why it's very dangerous if you have no floor. Because if you have no floor and then you go to the rabbit hole, tapos ng usapan. So for instance, wala akong sinasabi For instance, na-detect ng sistema na medyo ayaw mo kay Kamala. And then, all you're gonna get on your social media is all of the stuff that make Kamala look bad, including fake stuff about Kamala Harris. Now, for instance, I don't know if Kamala Harris really said certain things about, certain religion or not. But I do agree now, for instance, she didn't have enough outreach to at least two communities, Catholics and the Arab Muslim community. And I think that could cost her these elections. But that's my point. You have to have a floor. Now, once that candidate clears that floor, there's a second thing you have to do. And this is how you do proper voting. You have to have a ledger. Pagdating sa ekonomiya, pagdating sa national security, pagdating sa ganon, anong score ng mga to? And then, this is where the most important thing happens. What issue is actually more important to you? And then you have to justify to yourself, bakit sa tingin mo mas mahalaga, for instance, ang ekonomiya kaysa national security at this point in time? Or mas mahalaga ang, I don't know, divorce bill kaysa West Philippine Sea? Or kaysa ekonomiya, right? Or things like that. Kaya nga mahirap maging responsableng voter eh. Because you have to do two things at the same time. Have a minimum floor of voting, and second one, have a proper ledger. Both of those things are difficult, I understand, for a lot of people, right? As I said, the first one is difficult because we live in a world whereby people vote for someone because they hate the other person more. And it's so easy to do that because there are all of these echo chambers and rabbit holes. I've met fantastic people who are conservative. I've been to South Carolina. I've been to Georgia a lot. I've been fantastic. It's nothing like what I'm hearing from some, woke friends about Republicans. It's so different. At the same time, I've been with some Republican people who say stuff about San Francisco and all. And nung isa araw sabi ko, have you been to San Francisco recently? Where are you getting your information? I was in San Francisco twice this year, right? And I went around, I walk around. Everywhere I'm in a town, I walk for 5-6 hours. I go the whole perimeter. Yung City Hall area and around, medyo problematic San Francisco, I'll be honest. But even in that area, I felt safe enough to go to a Peruvian restaurant, to have a coffee here, etc. It's nowhere as bad as people put it, all right, from the Republican side. So, doon ko na-realize na this is an echo chamber world whereby each side is just in their echo chamber, demonizing the other side, and ganyan. So we're in this very sad situation whereby people vote for someone because they hate the other person. And actually, I'll tell you what, I noticed that trolls, bayaran na propagandists are actually paid to reinforce that. So a lot of times I realize, whenever, kunyari, you criticize Sara, hindi ko sinasabi na ano to mga to pero yung mga iba, kaysa didepensahan nila yung ginagawa ni, or kaysa explain nila, I don't know how to whatever. They just go and attack Leni. What about? Yung what aboutism? What? Tapos gagawa pa ng yan. So nagiging ganyan na lang mundo na parang, wala naman perfect ganun na, what about ganyan. And then, so, saan na tayo ngayon, diba? Saan na tayo? Lutang na tayo lahat. Diba? So that's why for me, as a voter, first of all, you have to be very clear about your red lines. Do you want, ito ba notice ko? If this side is saying fascisto, yung other side will say communisto. And I'll tell you what, it's like, in no definition of communism, anyone who's using their brain, okay, is someone like Kamala Harris a communist? Like, for heaven's sake, she was a prosecutor, she's a liberal, and I don't say it as a compliment, right? She's not progressive at all on many, many issues. She was hated by woke. She's nowhere close to anything that Bernie Sanders. So anyone who says she's a communist, like, no offense, my friends, you're a little bit out of this world. But of course they'll say that because the other side is being called fascist. Then wala na. So for me, you have to be very clear about your red lines, and more importantly, you have to have a ledger, and then based on that, you make decisions like that. All right? Okay. So now you see, when I see some comments here and there, I'll say, you guys are embarrassing yourself because I don't think you're really thinking this through, right? Hindi, gusto ko siya kasi may sinabi siyang ganito. Or gusto ko siya kasi cute siya. Gusto ko siya kasi queen siya. Gusto ko kasi maganda siya. Diba? Like, or gwapo siya. Or maganda yung mata niya. Or mga ganun. Or pakinggan ko isang podcast na mga maayos naman. Diba? Or ayoko siya kasi may nakita ko. Nakita ko saan? Verified ba yan? That's for me immature voting. That for me is reckless and irresponsible voting. And that for me is the death knell of democracy. If people continue to vote that way, good luck na lang sa atin. Good luck talaga na sa atin. And when I see people liking different candidates from completely different, like almost opposite types, then that means these people are actually, when they vote, it's not based on a proper assessment, framework of assessment. It's based on just sensibilities and single issues or whatever. I'll just be honest about that. Hindi ko magana yung aircon kasi ang init-init. Kaya nga ang hirap eh. Kaya nga ang hirap eh. Kaya for me, self-awareness is very important. Kasi kung ang tingin mo, kayo lang matalino sa kabila yung ewan, wala talaga mangyari. And then another thing I realize is a lot of people are just too lazy to actually research the background of people, right? A lot of people are not doing enough due diligence to actually pay attention and all. Um, at the same time, mahirap din talaga to put all of the time and energy. I mean, I hope I'm constant whenever I have free time, I'm listening to something, I'm looking at some legit sources, whatever, about background of this person, background of that person, and then you look at the big picture and then you make a certain assessment. But let's be selfish for a moment and let's ask ourselves a question: who's better for the Philippines? And I think again that question is very difficult to answer because one way you can say, well, pagdating sa China, it's a bipartisan consensus. So regardless of who's the next president, Philippines will be a preferred ally. There's already a bipartisan $5 billion bill there. At the same time, you can say, oh, but Trump people are better. And I just had the piece on Nikkei Asia where I said, I quoted Elvish Colbia, who could be very senior official in U.S. under Trump. He was also during Trump 1. And I quoted O'Brien, who was the former national secretary, who said we have to support the Philippines big time, etc. So, for instance, if that issue is very important to you, then obviously maging, do we need Trump or whatever. At the same, there are other people who say like, Trump is Trump. You can never say. You can never say. You can never say. There's a U.S. ally in the Middle East. You know what I'm talking about. Who everyone thinks they would love to have Donald Trump there. Now, there's a new piece that came out of that country or two. And I've been hearing this theory for a while that actually, if you think about it, a lot of them actually are worried that Trump might win. Now, because if Trump might win, he might just say, knock it off, too much war. We don't want that anymore. Sorry about that. So, even those who, in theory, would love to have a Trump there, a lot of them are realizing actually he's just too unpredictable. And this is a Trump that talks about shark and boat and whatever. It's like, go ahead and I said I've watched Kamala speak and she's not the most impressive speaker to be honest and all that. Donald Trump is not necessarily the most inspiring intellectual out there, if I can put it that way, and he's very unpredictable. And unpredictability can go both ways, but if it goes in the wrong direction, the good luck sa atin lahat, diba? So that's why it's very hard. That's why it's very hard, even from the very narrow angle. But I'll add another last dimension here. Sa pagkaalam natin, ang laki ng community ng TNT Filipinos. Now, obviously, I'm all for legal migration. I respect the sovereign prerogative of Americans to want their borders being secure. They have every right to do that. I've been talking to some Republican friends who have been telling me that they don't know if Chinese PLA officers, whatever, are going through. There are a lot of, military age, Chinese folks getting through that. We don't know if what are they really up. Like, okay, I understand. Okay, you don't want cartel in, whatever. But I'm also worried about, seeing what was happening during Trump 1 on steroids, which is ICE agents coming in, tapos kukunin nila yung mga parents na Pinoy, na yung mga anak nila, citizen ng US, pero sila hindi pa, or TNT. I mean, that was happening already during Trump. And you could see stricter rules on migration, immigration, visa, etc. So yung mga iba na excited kay Trump, well, good luck to you if you're American citizen. Good for you, congratulations. But marami dyan na who are in legal gray zone or actually TNT or actually want to go to US at nahirapan, lalo kayo mahirapan if a Donald Trump administration comes in. And this is not about Donald Trump, it's about people around him. And I can give you the name of all of those people who really want an extremely strict migration, which will hit a lot of Filipino American community folks. Will hit a lot of Filipinos who want to go to the US for whatever reason. Bisita sa pamilya, mag-migrate, mag-aaral, whatever. So I'm telling you, you have to also pay attention to those realities. And I just happen to care about Filipino community and a lot of Filipinos who could face deportation and a lot of families that could be broken up, etc. Again, I'm saying this still in the spirit of respecting America's sovereign prerogative to protect its borders. But I also care about Filipinos, and I hope the approach will be a whiplash, because this is where Trump and Duterte are very similar. Whiplash. Bara-bara. overshoot para pakitang gilas. Um, you don't want to believe me? Go and ask. Actually, read the books. I think a lot of people here are super impressed kay Trump. They're actually not reading enough. Forget about John Kelly. All right, Esper, the former defense secretary of U.S. I can give you a lot of names of, former ex-generals. Right? Of course, kung nasa kulto ka, all of these people are suddenly bad to you. But anyone who's, but anyways, there were actually some crazy proposals. At some point, Trump was thinking, why shouldn't they just bomb the cartels inside sovereign Mexico Strait just to get rid of? I mean, like there are things like that. If you listen to the call that Trump made to the Georgia governor, now how much votes he wanted to be recounted, I'm telling him, Nikki Haley, who was his biggest competitor eventually, and one reason that drove her to contest Trump is, because a lot of these people who work with Trump are not endorsing him. If anything, they're endorsing the other side because they know what they know, and this is the Trump which is much younger, much fresher, and much less determined. The Trump we're gonna get is very, very different, right? So, again, not impressed by Kamala, to be honest. I think the Democratic Party is not in a good shape. I have a lot of disappointment about what things are going on there. You can go and make fun of Biden. I don't care. You want to go and make fun of Obama. I don't care. But that doesn't mean I'm just gonna turn a blind eye to what the other side is offering. But unfortunately, the world is what it is, and the latest survey that came out is it's a dead hit between the two sides in popular vote. That's how bad it is for Democrats. Because usually Democrats win the popular vote because the bigger states like California, New York, etc. goes to them. But even in popular vote, mahirapan si Kamala. So, just as what I said, as things stand, Trump is really in a good shape in terms of electoral college. And he will get likely even more votes this election than previous elections. And a lot of people are going to vote for Trump, not because of Trump, but because they hate the other side more. And why do they hate the other side more? There are facts, and then there are lots of stuff online and blah 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 blah. Okay. Anyway, let's just go back to this, guys. That's what I'm saying. Like when I criticize Duterte and all, it's not like I'm super impressed by this. No, but I have a ledger. I have some minimum standards. Anything that goes beyond that, below that, sorry, it's like no. And then if you're above that, then I'll have a ledger. Like what is more important for the Philippines at this point? West Philippine Sea, national economy. And when I say more important, it's not more important in abstract terms. More important given the urgency of the situation right now. Right? So for instance, ngayon, na-appreciate ko yung West Philippine Sea policy ng administration because napaka-alanganin yung West Philippine policy ni Duterte. But, in theory, of course, mas mahalaga pa rin sa akin yung economy, jobs, inflation, whatever. Yes. But because things were so bad in the previous 6 years, medyo naging more urgent siya. So there's a complete algorithm. There's essentially a ledger there, a framework there. And that's how you should vote. Or at the very least, that's how I make my framework of analysis. That's how I assess who's less bad than the other. And looking at many elections around the world, including the U.S., none of the candidates are really inspiring. But I have this and I have that, right? The X and the Y. It's very, very important. You have to have that framework. It's extremely important. Yes, I think one reason Trump got a huge bump up is because he got 4 or 5% of RFK Jr. And RFK Jr. is a classic case na that Tulsi whatever weirdo yan. She's whatever. This is the same person was with Bernie Sanders the other year, and then now is with Donald Trump. That tells you what kind of person these people are. But anyways, and this is a person, I think who did even worse than Kamala in the one proper presidential primaries both of them joined. So clearly, I don't think neither Tulsi or Kamala are the best that Democratic Party ever offered. No offense. RFK, well, he didn't get what he wanted. Very Filipino style. Oh, hindi ka gawa ko ng sarili kong partido. That guy started from an environmental regulation guy, which is the complete opposite of what Trump stands for, because he's for complete regulation. But because he ended up hating so much Democrats, he jumped to the other side. Problematic, my friend. But that 4-5% he picked up from RFK Jr., I think that explains a lot about Trump, and also a lot of Arab Americans, Muslim Americans being so disappointed with Kamala and the Biden administration's policy and in the Middle East right now. Also, a lot of them, just out of disappointment and frustration, are either sitting it out or are gonna vote for Trump. And I think when those elements come together, good luck. And by the way, there's another element. Magaling din yung campaign ni Trump. This campaign of Trump is much more sophisticated than the first one. The first one was a complete joke. I think it was just so joke that no one took it seriously. But this one is much more serious. So, for instance, the Trump campaign had 100 meetings with the Arab American community. Uh, in fact, one of his son-in-laws, yung asawa ni Tiffany Trump, is a Lebanese American, right? So it's a very astute campaign, and I think that was very smart. That was a very smart move. And just as there's way more sophistication dun sa Trump campaign compared to 2016. I'm talking about politics. I'm not talking about content or whatever, substance of policy. At the same time, there's so many things with the Big Tent Democratic strategy that's like, I'm not impressed at all. I'm not impressed at all. I don't know if you guys saw that video of Obama and Biden talking dun sa isang memorial, and then you could see like Obama was just so worried, and it's like he was just going like that, and Biden was like, what? And probably that has to do something with the elections. I think Obama is really worrying so much because in many ways protege niya si Kamala, and Obama is looking at how a lot of male African Americans are not going for Kamala and are rather a lot of them going for Trump, right? There's economy, but there's also a lot of frustration about a sort of identity politics that is excluding a lot of African American male. Not to mention she used, and this is where I'm saying that whole Kamala is communist is just, I'm sorry, it's just dumb, that argument. But because she was a prosecutor, and that's why a lot of, what I'm saying, prosecutor in the US usually, okay, connect the dots. But so yeah, we just have to prepare. But as things stand, yes, it's dead heat. But if Trump can deadlock the popular vote, I'm telling you, Kamal is not in good shape at all. I'm not, and you must wonder, siguro sabi ni Biden, nag-back up pa ako, tapos yun din palang mangyari, di ba? Anyway, I'm wondering if Democrats don't win, what's gonna be the blame game? And I think that it could get nasty. It could get nasty. Oh, Biden should have dropped out earlier. Or, oh, bakit this committee voted for them? Yeah, oh, what is it? Okay. Anyways, let's see. Let's see in less than 2 weeks where this is gonna go. But as things stand, at least statistically speaking, it's completely unpredictable. But Trump numbers, popular vote, deadlocking the Democrats. Wow, that tells you something. That tells you something. So let's see if in the last week or something, they can pull off magic. And I think anyone who watched the debate, I was very clear that I don't think Kamala did good enough on explaining economy and all, but Donald Trump couldn't even clear the basics, to be honest and all. Although, yeah, the usual blah, blah, blah. Anyways, thank you very much, guys. I think I made enough enemies already. Bago kayo mainis na naman sa akin, I'm just explaining to you how I approach things. You have to have the X and Y axis. You have to have the minimum floor, and then you have to have ledger. Oh, and by the way, you have to also make sure you're not getting your stuff from mumbo jumbo sources. All right? Thank you very much. God bless, and talk to you soon. Maraming salamat, guys. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.